Welcome to Folding Towels, a podcast for massage therapists with Jackie and David. If you are enjoying our episodes and want to support the production, consider buying us a coffee. Your contributions help us bring you more insightful discussions and expert interviews. Follow the link in the show notes or visit buymeacoffee.com/Folding Towels podcast to contribute, and thank you for your support. Hello and welcome back to another exciting episode of the Folding Towers podcast. Hello, Jackie.
Hi, David. How are you?
Pretty good. Guess what?
What's happening today, David? Do tell. Come on.
We have an exciting guest today. Do you know who it is?
I do. We've been chatting already for a few minutes. It's the lovely Tony Stahl from ROCKTAPE.
Yes. So Tony is a director and part of the ownership group of ROCKTAPE Australia. And if you have not heard of ROCKTAPE, you've probably been living underneath a rock. It is a stretchy kinesiology tape used quite widely across Australia, and particularly in sports, amongst other things. And there's some really unique ways that it's being used now, which is really interesting. So Tony's been leading the charge on education since 2010. His journey into health and recovery began with a broken leg twice on the footy field as a teenager. And determined to stay involved, he completed a VFL sports trainer's course back in 1989. And since then, he's delivered thousands of taping services at sporting events, expos, clinics, and universities across the country. And Tony is not just a teacher, he walks and runs and cycles. He's completed 29 marathons, 6 ultra marathons, 2 Ironman triathlons, and a 167-kilometer last man standing event. So
That's
we will be
insane, just quietly.
I feel a little bit inept here. We're going to be diving into the science and application of ROCKTAPE, why it's not just a stretchy tape, and how it can help with pain, posture, swelling, and movement, and why therapists might want to take a bit of a closer look as to why this is a really useful tool in the drawer and part of a broader client care. Tony, welcome to the show.
Thank you, David and Jackie. Thank you for the opportunity of being on your podcast today.
It's really good to meet you. ROCKTAPE is a product that I've been using for years, and it was when we were chatting with Stuart Hines, he's like, you've got to talk to Tony and hear his story. And I actually didn't really connect that there was probably a face behind the brand.
Yes, it's often that way, isn't it? Until you go to an event or a conference or an expo, and all of a sudden you meet that person standing behind the booth, and you go, that's who you are, and that's who I've seen emails from, and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's great to do that connection and to build that relationship by putting a face to an email address or a name.
Yeah. Well, let's go back to the beginning, because your career didn't start in health. Can you tell us about those early days and how a broken leg led you down the path of sports training?
Yes, David. Yeah, I broke my leg 2 years in the same spot, playing footy in the amateurs in Melbourne. After the second fracture, it was suggested to me that I would be wise to play another sport, give the footy up. But I love the footy club environment with hanging out with your mates. So I decided I'd complete a VFL sports trainers course out at Whitten Oval in the late 80s, and became a sports trainer for the team. Look, I think I enjoyed it. Enjoyed helping others do what they love, and it probably planted a seed and laid a foundation that I built upon with the ROCKTAPE 20 years on. But it was interesting. Even though I was on the field with the players and you're part of the club, it wasn't quite the same as playing and really being part of the team. So I was an accountant by trade back then. So after a few seasons as a sports trainer, I ended up becoming the treasurer for the team, so that I was still involved with the club in an off-field role.
Oh, they punished you. I have a soft spot for volunteers in sporting clubs and keeping the sporting environment running for the benefit of all.
You do. You definitely do. Yes. I would be very interested to actually know, Tony, how did that, working with your favorite football club, how did you get into then running marathons and ultra marathons? Because that's a leap, like, to the next level. That's huge jump.
Yeah, I mean, I always loved sport, and obviously, when you get something taken away, you look for something else. And I just always loved running, loved doing the cross countries at school, school athletics, and so did my first Melbourne Marathon when I was probably 20, and for some reason just fell in love with the challenge of an endurance event, both sort of the physical and the mental challenge, and just yeah, got addicted to it, and it took me all over the world. Running Boston Marathon, Chicago
Oh,
Marathon,
wow.
New Zealand Ironman, and then plenty of events around Australia. It was yeah, it was yeah, it became just I loved the sports side of it, but you still did train with others and friends, and running some of the training for some of those events. It was a journey, which I love being on.
Mm.
I'm not going to say it sounds fun, but it sounds fun.
It was definitely addictive, and it was some great experiences. Out on
Yeah.
180K training rides with friends, or running in the hills. Out
Yeah.
of Perth, training for a comrades marathon in South Africa. Yeah,
Wow.
it was awesome.
Yeah. Well, back in the early 80s and also the late 80s and early 90s, as a sports trainer, the tape that would have been available to you probably would have been elastoplast.
Yeah, look, being a sports trainer for an amateur club in the 80s and 90s was tough.
Yeah.
Learning was largely by trial and error, and we didn't have much in the way of resources. Funds were tight, so we basically had rigid tape and massage oil and very little else.
Mm.
And interestingly, back then, obviously there were no concussion protocols, and
Yes.
and players would regularly play on after a heavy knock, and just not even think about the thought of having a week off. You're back out on the track and on the field the following week.
Yeah. Sport has certainly come a long way, and particularly in injury management and alcohol management too. I was a sports trainer at a Hills football club. We used cooking oil for massage. We had budget tape, and the coach would send kids back on to play after a beer, um, and that's how you celebrated. It's just a different time.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
and for us, learning was largely by trial and error. I mean, obviously,
yeah.
I had one basic strapping massage course, and I had a fellow sports trainer who'd been on the job for a couple of years longer than me, and yeah,
Mm,
had to do the best we could with the limited knowledge that we had, and provide some taping and massage and a little bit of basic first aid support.
yeah. The trainer that I was learning my craft from used to pull out the old rolling pin to take to a corked thigh, and it's frowned upon now. It's
Oh
amazing we
my
didn't.
Lord.
It's amazing we didn't kill anyone. Yeah.
Oh dear.
But,
Hey, David, before we progress, we've almost forgotten a question. It's the most important question that we
oh,
have.
yes. Yes. Take it away, Jackie.
Okay, well, Tony, who's your favorite superhero, and can you tell us why that is?
I can, yes. I mean, I think when I sort of listened to a couple of your podcasts recently, I was sort of prepared for the question. So, and I thought, wow, you know what? I'm not a big cartoon person, but hang on. When I was, in my teens, there was a footballer who played for Collingwood, and his nickname was the Incredible Hulk. So I think he is my favorite. He's my most well-known cartoon character.
Nice.
So much due to the cartoon, but just because of the footballer. I mean, Renee Kink, he played in the 70s and 80s with Collingwood, and had the nickname Incredible Hulk. And in his day, he was a footballer with a extremely muscly physique. Although when I looked up his stats, he was only 91 kilos and 6 foot tall, and played full forward. Uh,
Wow.
And he went on and played in 5 grand finals. But that was the era of the collie wobbles, and unfortunately he lost them all.
It is such a cliche, but we do say like the 80s, they were just so different. It was just a
Different.
different time. It was. We're all old.
Did he have a moustache?
I don't recall the moustache. I just remember the bulging muscles and yeah, the probably a physique that was ahead of his time.
Mm. We're going to look up a photo and post that into our socials,
Yeah,
uh, just to put some context for the story.
sure. I
Yeah.
love it.
As I said earlier, I was really surprised to see that there was a real face behind the brand of Rock Tape. And I'm already always fascinated by moments of pluck where someone just sees an opportunity and just runs with it. So how did Rock Tape come into your life?
Yeah, well, I guess as I mentioned earlier, I'm an accountant by trade. And look, I enjoyed doing the footy club books and working for the likes of Ernst and Young and BHP and CUB, but I didn't love it. But I married an accountant, as a lot of professionals do. They marry a fellow professional, and when we had our 2 kids, we actually job shared, which was a great opportunity because you had a typical week of 2 or 3 days of mental stimulation, adult conversation, and some time to do some exercise when you're in the office, and then you had 2 or 3 days, depending on the week, at home with the kids, and that was quality time of just going to bub club or swimming lessons and making lots of great memories with them. Um, but then a mate and I, Darren, and as I said, we went and ran the Boston Marathon back in 2010. And Darren had the good fortune to be introduced to the creator of Rock Tape, Greg Vanderdries, on his journey home through San Francisco. So Darren brought home some, Rock Tape samples and some documentation about Greg's plans for the product, and ultimately he wanted to franchise Rock Tape in different countries. But Darren was working full time at the time, so he didn't really have time to devote to this new Rock Tape venture. And he knew I had effectively 2.5 days a week that I'd penciled in for golf, running, and surfing as the kids were about to be full-time schoolers. So he actually invited myself and another friend who was a chiropractor to combine our different backgrounds. And we did some market research on kinesiology tape and in Australia and thought, well, we think this can work. So we had a few Skype calls with Greg, and we ended up buying the first franchise of Rock Tape that was outside the US. But I mean, at that point, I'm your typical risk-adverse accountant who was thinking small, and I thought if we can make enough money to fund an overseas holiday each year, that would be great. Ironically, it's very similar to a previous guest on your podcast, Randall Cooper,
Yes.
when he started Premax. So we conducted our first course at Murdoch in Murdoch University here in Perth in 2010, and the course was conducted by the lead educator from the USA who was a chiropractor, and when he introduced himself to the audience as Dr. Steve Capobianco, there was an audible sigh from the physios in the room. Back then, it was sort of a little bit more butt heads, different professions. So at that point, we added a fourth business partner, which was my brother Steve, who was a physio. And I recall sitting in that first course 15 years ago thinking, wow, I need to learn Latin so I can converse with practitioners. And I obviously need to learn how to strap with kinesiology tape. But Steve, my brother, was a great resource for me, and he spent many, many hours teaching me the anatomy and how to tape. But interestingly, within months of starting Rock Tape, I was sacked by my wife from the job sharing arrangement as she felt I was spending too much of my working days on Rock Tape. So then, pretty much straight away, I went full-time Rock Tape, and obviously, like any small business, it's hard work starting up and gaining momentum. But we had confidence in the product, and we conducted a lot of in-services at clinics. And interestingly, I recall one particular session at a physio clinic here in Perth that I conducted. And the clinic was owned by a physio, Chris Perkins, who at the time was one of the West Coast Eagles physio, and the clinic was very evidence based. But Chris had played a lot of amateur footy himself, and his knees had some wear and tear, and he felt some discomfort stepping up or doing a deep squat. So Chris asked me to rock tape his knee, and said at the time, look, if it didn't ease some of that just sort of discomfort he was feeling, he wasn't going to buy the tape. So I thought, wow, no pressure at all here. I felt like the apprentice taping the master. But I taped his knee, and he was able to step up and squat with a little less pain, and therefore he had more range. And for me, it was like, wow, what a relief. But for him, it was, yeah, look, I can explore using this tape a bit more, which was great.
No pressure whatsoever.
Well, for those who might not be familiar, what is it that makes rock tape different from, I guess, see the traditional athletics tapes?
Yeah, look, most people find that rock tape can help reduce their pain while the underlying cause is resolved. So rock tape provides some mechanical traction, which stimulates the mechanoreceptors in the skin and fascia to give an alternate tactile input from the area that's taped. This new input, which, light mechanical touch, provides the brain with sort of a less threatening stimulus that effectively competes for attention with the threat input that the brain is receiving from the injured or compromised body part. Rock tape is very elastic and almost, doubles in length when stretched. So it's comfortable to wear, and when we apply it, we apply it with just a little bit of stretch, but we apply that with the body part in a lengthened position. And then when the body returns to a neutral position, the rock tape tends to pucker or has convolutions that cause the skin and the superficial fascia to sort of lift and opens up that little subcutaneous space. And even now with an ultrasound, we can see a separation of some of the three deeper layers of fascia, deeper fascia, which is quite interesting. That decompression that the tape that in the tape has a fluid effect on the subcutaneous space, so it can remove some of that congestion, that bruising or swelling that is compressing the nociceptors in the area. The decompression also has a mechanical effect, so it can, unstick any fascial adhesions. And it also, the decompression effect has a neurological impact, decreasing that nociceptive drive by providing alternative mechanoreceptor input. Rock tape's also handy in that it's hypoallergenic. The acrylic adhesive doesn't tend to cause any irritations like the zinc oxide in rigid tape does for some. It's made from cotton and nylon, and it doesn't tend to trap any moisture from the perspiration, shower or swimming that we might do. So you don't get that sort of macerated white-looking skin after removing a Band-Aid or rigid tape that potentially has been on for more than a relatively short period of time. The rock tape comes in 38 different colours and patterns at the moment, including 6 different variations of beige. So if you're a little paler like me, you can get our latte pattern, and therefore your taping application can blend in a little bit more effectively. But, if you're a bit more tan, we've got the honey, cocoa, chestnut, mocha variations as well. So basically the different colours and patterns, really just trying to cater for different personality types. They're not like a TheraBand where a different colour represents a different strength. We're just trying to encourage, people to like having the tape on, so they're more likely to, comply with their practitioners' instructions of, keeping it on for a period of time. And typically, you can wear the tape for 3 to 5 days. Research shows that, rock tape can change the inputs to the brain, which changes the outputs from the brain, that pain reduction or posture changes. So by, allowing you to, by leaving the the tape on for 3 to 5 days, we've got time for those neuroplasticity changes to occur.
I do love the color range, and I do love turning up to recreational running events and seeing the rainbow of colors from those who've just got maybe they've had a bit of a calf strain and there's just a bit of tape on their leg through to those who seem to be held together like bit of a battle box of a Holden. They're still in the race, but they've been patched together with their race tape.
It really goes to show how popular it is that there are that many different patterns and colors. Like you said, about 15 years ago, there was hardly anybody. Like if you were watching sports, you didn't really see anybody really with any tape on. And now it's almost like every player has some on somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what we can see as well. I mean, obviously in the AFL, they still have to wear beige tape. They can't wear any of the colours. Whereas rugby league, the All Blacks, you often see the black tape on them. They tend to blend it in with their uniforms. But yeah, initially when we started, 15 years ago, it was the elite athletes who are the ones, trying to get that 1 or 2%, gain. But now it sort of tends to be used by, anyone, your real, recreational athlete or just someone who's, got pain or, the practitioners identify there's a lack of recruitment, control or balance, and some of the most common applications probably are, your lower back, your knee, shoulder, calf, and Achilles, as you're mentioning.
Mm. The accessibility of the tape, and whilst it is found across leading retailers, Chemist Warehouse, Coles, etc. I love that it comes with an instruction manual, and you go to the gym, you'll see people putting their tape on themselves. They have been coached by someone, and they're following their instructions, and they're obviously seeing benefit from using it themselves, keeping up that protocol. Look, rock tape has exploded across Australia, which is a fabulous thing. But was there a bit of an oh shit moment where maybe it didn't nearly work?
Yeah, we did have a couple of challenging times in the early days. I think one of our first big shipments, the product comes from South Korea, so it comes via sea container. And one of our sea containers was quarantined by customs and sat on the docks at Fremantle for days in the middle of a hot spell in Perth in summer. And we were terrified that the tape was just going to be ruined. We've had experiences with rigid tape. You leave
Yeah.
it in the glove box of the car for a couple of days.
Yeah.
It becomes a sticky mess. But the manufacturer tried to allay our fears, and he was correct. The tape came out fine, so that was great. We survived that one. But then, probably in our first couple of years of business, we had a bikie gang sue us because one of the patterns that we had on the tape was deemed too close to their logo. So,
No
despite
way.
yeah, despite the fact that we'd purchased ROCKTAPE USA had purchased the pattern from Getty Images. We took it we went to an IP lawyer and said, do you think we're okay? And he said, look, I think you'd be all right, if you went to court to fight these guys. But the thought of maybe being okay and the significant legal fees if we were unsuccessful and obviously the associated stress, we decided to settle with the bikie gang, and we had to settle a six-figure sum for them
Wow.
to go away. So yeah, it was very stressful from an emotional perspective, having a bikie gang coming at you, and obviously having to pay out a substantial amount
Mm.
to settle when you were a new business was a bit of a financial hiccup for us.
Yeah, wow.
I've got risk management policies in my business, but I don't have any procedure for what to do if an angry bikie knocks on my door.
No, we had concerns that if we didn't, play their game, then would our
Yeah.
warehouse all of a sudden be burnt to the ground, or
Yeah.
yeah, we yeah, we didn't know how to deal with it other than to try and, move on. So
Yeah.
look, we survived, but it was a bit of a harrowing experience.
Yes, it is. That's frightening.
That's pretty crazy.
And ironically, this bikie gang, which are international, it's only in Australia where they've had a problem with that particular logo, and all the other countries still sell it, or that pattern. Sorry, and every other country still.
Oh,
We were
isn't
just
that
unlucky.
isn't that interesting? I wonder how that even came to their attention. That's really crazy. One of
Yeah.
them goes to the physio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Tony, I had a question about this. This is I can't even remember what I was going to ask you. But you mentioned earlier that you actually don't like your biggest sales area is from chemists. Is that right? So it's not even from physiotherapists?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, about 75% of our sales at the moment are through pharmacies. So
Yes.
it's an incredible number that just keeps getting bigger. We're very fortunate that Chemist Warehouse do retail our product. And obviously that makes it a lot easier for people to get their hands on it because, Chemist Warehouse are pretty much everywhere. But it's quite ironic that, that end user has been introduced to the product by a practitioner somewhere in their treatments, we do find a lot of practitioners don't tend to retail much product.
Mm.
Some do, but not a lot don't. So therefore, I guess the person, if they have a good experience, they come back for their second treatment, and if the practitioner doesn't have a 6-pack of tape sitting on their shelf somewhere, that the person can potentially grab a roll to place in their sports bag for retaping themselves, then they have to go to the pharmacies to get it.
Earlier on, we talked about James McEwen from Adelaide Advanced Physio, and I'm a past client, not of him, but of that practice. And I remember going in there one day and they had custom branded rock tape with their logo on it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
cool.
yeah. So clinics, if they're big users of the product, they definitely have the opportunity to potentially create a walking billboard and put their logo on the tape. It doesn't cost the clinic any more than if they were buying any other type of tape, of rock tape, but there is a minimum quantity, of course.
Mhm.
That's really cool.
All right. Well, let's have a little bit of a chat about education because ROCKTAPE Australia is very heavily involved in therapist education. There's quite a lot of online tools available, as well as in-person classes delivered, face to face across the country.
Yeah, we do, David. We love to get out and conduct education. We really believe that a rising tide will lift all ships. So we are keen to introduce as many practitioners to kinesiology tape, and hopefully they'll go and buy the rock tape. But there is many other products out there. But we think it's just a great product, a category overall that hopefully can assist your clients. We conduct a variety of education options. We can conduct in-services at clinics, complimentary in-services just to introduce people to rock tape or one of our other modalities, the massage tools or the cupping devices. We have online courses, which obviously were all the vogue during the COVID period, and we continue to offer them because obviously that works quite well for your practitioner who is very busy or maybe regional based. But obviously our biggest method is that face-to-face course, and we probably have found that it's sort of really swung back to people wanting to get back into the classroom, and probably about 90% of our education is now back in the classroom, where we offer your ROCKTAPE or your therapy tools for soft tissue treatment courses. And the ROCKTAPE course is actually, we listen to feedback, and people often said, look, it'd be great if we could do the theory and research section online, and then just have 4.5 hours of practical application and honing our skills. So we do that for the ROCKTAPE course. So someone registered, a month before the course, you get access to a 90-minute online component, which you can watch once or twice or as required in the lead up to the course. And then once you get into the course, the face-to-face component is completely practical, where you really get a chance to hone your skills and ask lots of questions of the instructor. We conduct most of our courses in the cities, but love getting out to the regional centres. So because obviously it's much easier for us to send an instructor to say around Perth. We had, last year we went to Geraldton, Kalgoorlie, Albany, then practitioners from those regions to spend the time and the cost of commuting to Perth. So yeah, we love getting out to regional areas, and more than happy to explore conducting courses in a region if someone is interested in education and and haven't got an excuse to get to the local capital city.
I was looking on the website earlier today, Tony, and actually looking at that. You've got a whole bunch of courses coming up listed on for the rest of the year, and some of them are really regional. Like, you're going out to places that there was a few towns that I'd never even heard of. I can't remember what they were, but like, you're going out to all sorts of places. So yeah, that's really commendable, because a lot of people don't like to do that.
Oh, look, it's obviously much easier to get one of our Sydney instructors to conduct a course in Sydney, but and because obviously if we go to Dubbo or Coffs Harbour, for example, we either have to fly one of our practitioners to the region, or and set them up with accommodation. But look, if there's demand in a region, we're more than happy to get out there and build the relationship with the local community. And typically you get some really good loyal customers as a result, because they appreciate the effort that you make to get out there.
The use of kinesiology tape, it does extend just beyond muscles, ligaments, and tendons. I've sat in some classes now of taping for lymphatics, taping for burns, taping for scarring. The use it's quite phenomenal, and there is a real growing body of evidence and knowledge behind this as a tool compared to many other styles of bodywork.
Yeah, I mean, there is. It's particularly the neurological aspect of it. The cost of doing research where someone does an activity which causes pain, then you tape them, they go and redo it, and they can reassess it. It's quite cheap. So we're seeing a lot of studies come up in regards to that. And yeah, it's even though kinesiology tape's been around for 50 years now, since it was invented by Kenzo Kaze, a Japanese chiropractor. So it's, even though for many people it's still a new product, it has been around for long enough that there is a lot of use, and therefore there is a lot of people going, let's do some research on it. So Steve, my brother, who was the physio, he used to sort of wade through all the research that we get sent, probably on a weekly basis, of new studies that have popped up. So it is, there is more and more research popping up all the time.
Is this research product-led or is it industry-led?
It's industry-led because, we would probably be the biggest seller of kinesiology tape in Australia, and we often get approached by people doing studies to donate product. And then we say, look, you're happy to donate product, and then we typically have to step away because obviously we don't want to be seen to be too closely aligned to it. Sometimes we provide some education, and then we step back and let the study go on. But a lot of it's being done overseas. In Europe, but yeah, so it's more and more evidence now supporting the stuff that we've been teaching at courses. But so yeah, it's great to see that, particularly the physiotherapists who are very much evidence based, love to see that science that comes to support the product.
Mm. I've even seen it being used with horses.
Yeah, we do use it with horses and dogs.
Mm.
So often, a lot of the equine and canine practitioners, treat in a similar way. And I recently co-conducted a course in Geelong with one of the local practitioners there, Michael Yeo. So I did the human part in the morning, just so people got used to handling the tape, and then Michael brought in 3 dogs, and they spent the afternoon taping the dogs, applying what they'd learnt in the morning. Yeah, the dogs and cats, dogs and horses are really interesting, particularly horses. I've taped quite a few horses, and their proprioception is amazing. So fly lands in them and they can twitch that area. So they
Mm.
really respond well to tape from that neurosensory input side of things. We often say, when people ask the question, is this body part too hairy to tape? And we say, look, unless you're hairier than a dog or a horse, you should be fine. But in saying that, yeah, I mean, obviously this time of year and when the horses are growing their thicker coat, you do have to prepare the hair like you do preparing a leg that you might have massaged, with regards to cleaning it, to brushing off
Mm.
excess hair in the case of a horse before you apply the tape. But yeah, there is definitely the ways to get the horse and dog to have the tape adhere to them.
It's fascinating.
It is. I kind of knew that people were working as massage therapists, were working with horses a lot more, but it's almost surprising that the popularity of massage and taping for dogs is actually actually a huge thing. People are really looking for want of any better term, alternative therapies for their animals. It's fascinating.
I do dry needling with my dog, but I've never thought about taping him.
Do you really, David?
I do.
Wow.
Yeah, he's old. He's got arthritis, and every now and then he thinks he's young and he develops an injury.
Oh.
Bit of pooch love.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
He gets some cranial work. He gets some myofascial release. Yeah.
Oh, that's really
Loves it.
sweet.
Yeah. I've always got time for him.
You do. He's gorgeous. He is. I have a potentially controversial question. Potentially controversial. I was kind of wondering, because you're not actually a massage therapist. I'm not trying to say you don't have skills, because you absolutely do, but you are not a trained remedial massage therapist. So please don't be offended by my saying that, because I mean absolutely no offense. But I'm just wondering, do you see massage therapists as potentially being underutilized in healthcare? Because we are, as we've been discussing, we are seeing so many more people using taping, using cupping, dry needling, all of these different things. And I feel like that we are underutilized, but we are slowly getting there. I'm just wondering what your opinion is, Tony, as almost a little bit of an outsider, if that makes sense.
No offense taken. I mean, obviously, an accounting background. We have a different lingo. When I started taping, I had to learn Latin, learn anatomy, and thankfully, my brother was an amazing resource. So, and we still have. Steve unfortunately passed away with MND earlier this year,
Mm.
so I've lost him as a
God.
resource.
Yeah.
But we've got over 20 practitioners around Australia that do instructing for us, and they're an amazing group who they sort of answer any of the questions that are beyond my knowledge. But look, our practitioners are a mix. Our instructors are a mix of physios, chiros, osteos, myotherapists, and remedial massage therapists. So look, there are some remedial massage therapists out there that have accumulated a huge amount of knowledge, have done an amazing amount of further education beyond their course at college or TAFE, and their knowledge is incredible. And our remedial massage therapist instructor and our myotherapist, two instructors in Melbourne, are incredible with the courses and the feedback they get. So even they'll present to any practitioner, and obviously I stay in my lane, and they stay in their lane when they're providing a taping course. But the feedback that they get for their knowledge is fantastic. And I think the clinics are becoming a lot more multidisciplinary focused. And as I said, when we started 15 years ago, professions sort of were a bit more protective of their space, whereas now, you do see physios referring to remedial massage therapists and back, and I think it just provides a much better result for your client, your customer, who ultimately wants to get rid of the pain that they're suffering, and sometimes it's a multidisciplinary approach that's going to be most effective.
Well, a few years ago, the brand introduced some tools as well, the form of the rock tools and the rock pods, and I did have a bit of a giggle at that time. Cupping and scraping were almost dark arts. Let's say dark arts.
Dark arts, yes.
And
They were the weird cousin. The weird
yeah,
cousin.
and then suddenly cupping and scraping became quite popular, which I'm quite happy about to see that. Whether it's directly or indirectly related to the brand, those therapies becoming legitimized.
Yeah, look, we have been running massage tools courses for many years with our rock blades and our Mohawk massage tools. They're different shapes, they're different weights, and they're very popular with particularly your massage therapists and your myotherapists, and they probably make up about 60% of our attendees at these sort of courses, because it takes pressure off your wrist thumbs, which are prone to fatigue and injury. Or alternatively, if you've got a cut or a blister on your hand, you can potentially still massage by holding the massage tool.
So true.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's a bit of insurance in a way, potentially for you. And the stainless steel tools, massage tools, really slide easily over the tissue or over the clothes if it's an over clothes massage.
Yeah.
So you don't tend to use as much emollient as you would with your hands. And the tool has some weight, and depending on the angle that you hold the tool, more weight is felt by the client, and without you actually pushing very hard at all. So once again, just taking a little bit of load off your assets, being your hands.
Mm.
Yeah, so they're very popular, and we do have we've incorporated them now into a what we call a therapy tools for soft tissue treatment course. So we've added them to the rock pods, which is our cupping device, our compression bands or rock floss, and our flow range of massage guns, which obviously is that percussion vibration type therapy. We do have complimentary 30-minute online introductions to our massage tools. So we can potentially include that link in the show notes for anyone that sort of would like to have a little bit of a look at the tools and how they might be used, and decide if they might like to investigate further for potential incorporation into their clinic. So yeah, happy to provide that to you, David and Jackie, for later use. The rock pods are interesting. They're obviously cupping. It's a different stimulus for the brain in that they decompression versus most modalities
Mm.
being compression. So our cups are made from silicon, so quite easy to clean. And if they fall on the ground, they bounce, they don't clang and or potentially break, like the glass ones that are traditional ones. Um, and ours don't have the need for a vacuum pump. You either squeeze them, plunge them, or invert them to evacuate different amounts of air out of the cups so that you can change the level of decompression felt by the client. And they really stick better too when the skin has emollient on them or when the skin is wet. Um, you can use them as a static cup, but we actually recommend applying them to an area and encouraging movement, which then creates some internal gliding, which might help unstick any of those fascial adhesions in the area being treated. Typically, we recommend an application time of only 60 to 90 seconds because we don't necessarily want to create that bruising of the tissue. But in saying that, if your patient wants some of that therapeutic bruising because they like to wear that bruising like a badge of honor to show they've had their cupping done, you can leave the rock pods on for a little longer.
Yeah, the athletic tattoo.
Correct. Yes, very
Yes.
popular with your Michael Phelps and
Yes.
these days on the blocks. And from a self-treatment point of view, they're great because for me, like I always have a couple sitting in the shower next to the shampoo. So if I've come back from a run or a gym session and I'm just a bit tight in a certain area, you can pop them on the skin when you're wet. You're washing your hair, your body, you're moving, you've had your 5 minutes in the shower or whatever, and you've done your self treatment. So we find a lot of practitioners who use the rock pods in their consults often sell one or two rock pods to their customers, which is obviously a nice little additional revenue to your consult as well.
I'd never really thought about selling tools within my clinic, other than the stereotypical spiky ball, etc., etc.
Mm.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
That's really, I think you've blown our minds, Tony, because I had never thought about doing that either. Like you just mentioned, using the a couple of cups while you're in the shower after a run. Like I would literally have never thought of that as
Yeah, because I mean everyone's time poor, whether you're a practitioner or a patient, and obviously
yeah.
it's the bane of your life trying to get someone to do some things to help themselves between appointments. They think that just coming to see you is going to be enough, but the benefit of just doing some self-treatment at home and if you're in the shower and it's calf, you can quite easily, while you're waiting for the 3 minutes for the conditioner to do its thing, you just do some open and closed chain movements, heel raises, or do your
Yeah.
write your alphabet with your foot. And obviously if you're a bit tight in the pec or deltoid, then obviously you're just washing yourself, you're washing your hair, you're moving, and so you're getting all that internal gliding. What just combining it with another habit of having a shower.
So, what is keeping you excited about work these days, Tony?
Well, as I touched on before, unfortunately, Steve, my brother and business partner, passed away in Feb after his 19-month battle with MND. So
Mm.
I feel very passionate about continuing to build on the legacy he left through the education content that he developed for ROCKTAPE. Steve was an excellent educator and mentor, and as I said, he's helped develop an amazing team of instructors all around Australia that help to deliver the education. So that's something that I feel quite passionate about, and I mean, personally, I love doing the education. I love getting out there, and particularly to regional areas, to clinics, to just introduce the tape and or the other modalities to people to say, look, maybe this is something else that can take pressure off your hands, but still help you get a better result with your clients. because obviously, for soft tissue therapist, your hands are so valuable. And as well, if we can potentially, retail some of the products, then, there's more income that's been earned without using your hands.
Mm-hmm.
You have to take care of the money makers.
Yes. Do you think you'll ever slow down, or do you have another big project ahead?
Well, I mean, I'm someone who loves a challenge. But as I was just mentioning to Jackie before we started, I had oh, and yourself, I had a brain bleed at a subarachnoid hemorrhage in October, which definitely slowed me down for a period of time. A week in the neuro ward at Charlie Gardner's Hospital here in Perth. But I guess coming out of that, I've used as a bit of a fork in the road and a chance to really identify those things or activities which maximise enjoyment and prioritise those. So I am spending a lot more time doing things like horse riding and that I love doing, and getting back into the surfing, as Steve and I shared many happy memories surfing together on the west coast of Victoria. And surfing was his happy place. And so when I'm at the beach, I feel that connection with Steve. But running a small business, I think, is a bit like an iceberg. People see the bit above the surface, but there is so much that goes on in the background under the surface that definitely keeps me busy. And I love what we do at ROCKTAPE. I mean, even though we've been going 15 years and kinesiology tape's been around for 50, there's still a lot of people out there that aren't aware of it, or haven't had the chance to spend much time learning about it. So I love the opportunity to try and introduce the modality to practitioners.
I'd like to go back to the beginning of when you started to bring the product in. Was it you and your business partners kind of packaging up product and posting it around Australia yourself, or did you think about supply chain and automation ahead of that time?
Maybe we should have, but no, we didn't.
Yeah.
We packaged up every little product. And well, look, we've still only got 6 full-time employees, so we're still very much a small business. Darren and I, do a lot of the strategic stuff and the coordinating, and then we've got a small team that look after all the accounting and the packaging of the product. So we still do that all out of our warehouse in Perth. And then obviously we have our instructors that are, it's like contractors all around Australia to assist us. But yeah, it was all done, and still is done in-house. But I think that gives us just, it means that, particularly with the 3-hour time difference in summer, or 2.5 hours to Adelaide, if you're about to leave your clinic at 4:30, if you're lucky enough to finish at that time, and you look over it and you go, wow, I'm low on my ROCKTAPE, you can put an order in, and it's only 2 o'clock here in Perth, and we've still got time to pick that order, package it, and send it back. And in some cases, it might land at your clinic the next day, depending on the couriers. And people go, wow, that's amazing service.
Yeah.
Why would I look somewhere else for another product when I can sort of get that sort of service? And we've always been big on that. When we started, we wanted to exceed customer expectations, and that's always been something we've really tried to focus on. So if you've sent me an email, I want to respond in a real timely manner. If you place an order, I want to get it out to you. If you have a question or a concern on anything, we want to sort of, answer that and try and remedy any issues that might be. And obviously, if you can provide that high level of service and a good product, then hopefully your customers don't need to look somewhere else, and they actually become an ambassador for your product, which we've found. I mean, at our courses, when we ask the question, what was your source of registration? How did you hear about us? And 40% of people say it was through a colleague or a friend. And that's amazing. So, we always have tried to provide that high level of service. And I think we can do that because we keep everything in-house.
That's really cool.
Is there something that you would like our listeners to take away from your journey and your work with ROCKTAPE?
Well, I guess, yeah, I mean, look, take a chance sometimes. I mean, we definitely did with ROCKTAPE, and it has paid handsome dividends from a lifestyle perspective, and from an enjoyment perspective for myself, job satisfaction. As I touched on then, building, exceeding customer expectations, is going to typically provide you with a great business base. And then, the other thing I guess I would touch on is, trying to build those good relationships. We have spent many hours at conferences and expos, putting faces to names and email addresses. And, as I said, we love getting out to education, to provide education in regional areas. We'll do a lot of those, complimentary in-services as a way of introducing ROCKTAPE or other modalities practitioners. And we also try and build relationships with that next generation of practitioners, universities, colleges and TAFEs that are offering education in that sort of therapy area. So, it's important to provide a good service and build a relationships, and then hopefully that will help you have a successful business.
Thank you so much for coming on the show, Tony. It has been absolutely wonderful to chat with you and to find out the history of ROCKTAPE and some of the history of kinesiology taping, because I knew almost nothing about taping before we did this episode. I don't tape. I've only just started learning about taping for lymphatic drainage in the last 6 months or so. So I'm at the beginning of my taping journey as a massage therapist. I'm actually really excited to explore some more learning and to jump on the website and see what courses you have. So thank you. So, from a personal perspective, thank you so much for being here and chatting with us. I've had a great time chatting with you today.
Brilliant. Thank you. Now, look, and with regards to massage therapists, obviously the tape is something that's typically put on at the end of the consult. So it's really important to clean the skin if you have used some sort of oil. There's lots of different ways you can do that: alcohol rubs, alcohol wipes, antibacterial wipes. Some practitioners, actually, that was Adelaide Advanced Physio, James McEwen. He uses Chuck's cloth sprayed with 80% metho spirits. You can use hot towels. Stuart Hines, another friend of the show, he uses wipes, and then he puts a bit of a rubbing alcohol on, isocol, and then actually often sprays the area with a dry deodorant. So
Yes.
there's lots of different tips and tricks out there to really get it to stick, because obviously preparing the skin, whether it be kinesiology tape or a rigid tape, it needs to be prepared properly.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on the show, Tony. I have enjoyed your story and your honesty with us today. We will include links on how to reach out to ROCKTAPE and to you as well directly, Tony, to find the education associated, including those free half-hour introductory courses. I've never known a massage therapist not to be interested in free education. So we will include links to that in the show notes. If you are listening to this episode and you have enjoyed what you've heard, why not like and subscribe? If you are listening on iTunes or on Spotify, leave us a rating. It would be so helpful and will help other massage therapists to get in touch with us also. You can find us through Instagram. You can find us on Facebook. Check out our website, where there are comprehensive articles on every episode that has come to air.
Thank you, David.
And also, just by point of excitement, this is episode 99. We have got something special planned for the next one.
We've been talking about it all week. I cannot wait for next week. Thank you everyone for listening. We really appreciate you listening in and giving us messages and feedback. And thank you, David, for being here. And thank you, Tony, for being here.
We'll see you in the next one.
Bye, everybody.